teachers, teachers who are changing to middle school next year, any teacher struggling in middle school and needs support. That is my goal, how always has been since I started sharing about 4 years ago. I really want to help people who need it, and I want us to all work together to help each other. So if you have ideas and comments that you can help during this broadcast and after, I know I go back and look at the comments, and I know that many other people do as well. It will be on my Facebook page. It will also be on YouTube. I just decided to go ahead and YouTube Live it as well. I'm not going to be commenting on the YouTube Live comments because I can only do one thing at once, and it's hard enough to catch all the comments from Facebook. And I advertise this as Facebook Live with a last minute, let's do YouTube Live too. So I always start with some deals in the store. This is a classroom management focused session here. I want to remind you that to everyone that last week I presented the first month of middle school, a product in my store that is $5. Last week I gave away for free, but it has tons of videos of the first month of school to help people get through that. If you go shop now at the top of the Facebook Live, you can get to any of these things I'm talking about. Today's freebie will be my classroom management. That is, I'm going to top of all this or somewhere in this comment section to give you all the straight links to get the things for free. The classroom management and the link is private. So that is going to be up for you tonight. From now until 8 o'clock, Friday, that is tomorrow, the mega bundle in my store will be $179. It's 50 that. Tell anyone you know, it's fine. It's normally $349, and that's the whole entire system, about 2 years worth of stuff. And I want to remind you that in my store, you can always get the syllabus for free, and so I'm going to put that link in there as well. So classroom management is one of the big struggles with all middle school teachers, and in chorus, I think we have larger classes than normal. I know I myself have 2 classes of 84. I have many classes of 40 and up, so that's normal for me. And I've written a lot of YouTube blog posts about it, and you can go to my blog in the middle of this on YouTube as well, and I want you to make sure you go ahead and check out what I've already been putting out there forever. Or if you just Google Mr. D and you put S cubed in there with classroom management, you're likely to find a lot of the things that are up already about classroom management. So I'm going to kind of start some of my philosophies first, the things that have really helped me over time. And then I'll get into some specifics. And if you have questions, I'm trying to keep an eye on both YouTube and Facebook Live because my ADHD has kicked in. But middle school kids, number one, they will be incredibly loyal to you, or they will make your life a total hell. And so it's really up to us and how we approach them from the very first day that they come into the room, and how we look at them, how we talk to them, what we do on that first day. All of those things matter. So here's some things that I try to do right up front early on. I try to hook them in early, like try to do things at the very first day that are going to make them go, I can't wait to come back to chorus. And that is really key. I try to, from the very first day, demonstrate respect by how I treat those students. And I do that. I mean, we do that with anything that we say, anything that we do, how we look at the students, how we look at certain students, how we give certain students attention and not other students, because they notice everything. My cooperating student teacher taught me early on, hey there, Amy, I see you on YouTube. And I'm worried that my Facebook Live isn't working because I don't have anybody on there, which is not normal. So if you're on Facebook Live too, let me know if it's not working. And I'll just focus on YouTube and like deal with the problem at a later time. I'm sorry, Facebook Livers, if I've screwed it up. Okay, so anyway, we demonstrate respect by who we call on in class from that very first day, who we acknowledge, who we look at, all the things I've just mentioned before. Those things happen every day, and my cooperating teacher asks, oh, good, great, so it's working. Well, that's great. Happy to know it. Thank you, Amy. And I student taught Amy in whatever it was, and I'm so glad to have you continue to be a part of my world. Thank you for all your support. Okay, so another thing that my cooperating teacher taught me from the beginning, I didn't finish my previous thought, but she said to me, middle school kids see through you. Whether you see you or not, they see through you. And that stuck with me. And so I try to remember that on those days when I'm not feeling great. And they sense it, and maybe I'm treating them a certain kind of way. They bounce off of that. They bounce off of that energy. Another thing my cooperating teacher taught me was they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Now, that's a really pretty common thing that I've heard. Great, I'm glad it's working, River. Thank you. I don't see any comments, so I'm worried if people, I don't know what's happening here. So I'm just going to go ahead with my thoughts. And if you're also on YouTube Live, I will try to look over there because I do see comments there. And I'll try to comment on that side. I apologize for any Facebook Live problems. All right, so that's a big thing. You know, I remember walking into classrooms. I've taught in 3 states and in 4 buildings. And in the beginning, you know, I was young, not so young anymore. So when I walked in, I remember in New Jersey when I taught there, I felt like I was pretty much becoming a proven entity, but they didn't know me from Adam, and they didn't care anything about that. And we have to prove every year, we have to prove ourselves. We have a new group of kids in front of us. We have kids who've heard about us. We have kids who haven't heard about us, and they don't care what has been said before. And so we have to remember that, and they don't care who you are or anything about you except for what their experience is that day. And when you show them that you care, then they start to trust you, and then they start to, you know, become curious about what else is in your life, and they look you up, but it still doesn't matter. What matters is their daily experience. So River, any advice for following a teacher that, oh my gosh, that everybody loved? What can I do on the first day to hook in those students who are loyal to the past teacher? River, I wrote a blog post about this, and I think it's called So You're Replacing a Legend. So if you go on the Google, I sound like 80 years old, and you put Mr. D S cubed, So You're Replacing a Legend, I bet you'll get right to that blog post. And I really thought that through because I have replaced a legend, 2 of them. My cooperating teacher, they loved her. And then I replaced another legend in New Jersey. And so I have tons of words of wisdom there. The number one thing that I will say here before, if you don't find that, you need to email me at inthemiddleofmrd@gmail.com. I will send it to you. I'll find it for you. But I think you can find it on Google. Number one thing is to definitely respect their morning process. Listen, find students that you and parents and listen to them. You know, in the beginning, as early as you possibly can. And yeah, thanks for the like, because then you're showing that you value what they have had in the past, and you're going to show that you know, you're there to be respectful, because that's the number one key for everybody and everything that they do always. So then after that, you know, if there are some traditions that you can keep and that you feel comfortable with that will work for your style, try to keep them. If there are things that you can't, it's not your style. Let's say that, like in New Jersey, the teacher that preceded me was incredible. I loved her. She was more of a gospel type style. I was not that, and I can't play by ear. I can't do the things that she could do. I'm very much not that. So I try to respect some of the music choices and pick one thing that I could do in the first semester that kind of kept the tradition going, and then other things I moved on from. And in my first year teaching, and all of my night, I was so naive, and I remember walking in, and I felt so confident, overconfident, and they raked me over the coals. This one child stood up. Her name was Christy Kendall. love this child. We're Facebook friends, so all is forgiven. She stood up in the middle of my lesson. I was bombing. It was like holiday time. And she said, "Are we going to sing Wintertime Aglow?" And that was a song they used to sing. Amy may remember that song. And I said, "No, we're not." And that was not the correct answer. I hadn't even looked at Wintertime Aglow. They had asked me several times what they wanted. Beautiful song. Next year I ended up singing it, but that group got gypped. But by then I had missed the boat on winning over some of those students. So River, find that blog post. There's a lot more in there, and it's really, I think it'll help you. And good bless you. Be patient with yourself. Do not beat yourself up. Okay, yeah. And again, on Facebook Live, I'm not seeing any comments. I can't tell anybody's in the room, so forgive me. If you can go jump over to YouTube and grab it, then I'll answer the questions there. All right, so I'm going to go on here to a couple other philosophical things that have helped me. As I mentioned a moment ago, it doesn't matter how much they've heard about you. You know, the parents may talk about you. They may Another huge piece of advice for classroom management early in the year, and I know this sounds so antithetical, if that's a word, if I'm using it right, to everything. Make fun of yourself, reveal things about yourself that are quirky. They love that. Be crazy when it's appropriate. All right, so Mary, I'm seeing here you have wrong purpose. Yeah. Next year, the boys and girls are going to be separated, but you're still, just so you know, those boys are special. Okay, and I'm going to get into some of that. Boys and girls and the different genders. I've written lots about it. Please, on the blog and on my YouTube channel, just go and type in the search gender. And or go to Google and put gender mystery SQ, and I bet you'll get to it. Yes, I have suggestions. You know, when they disrupt forbidden pattern, the way you've described, it is exactly that. It is a disruption. And so, you know, you may have, I try to keep it as light as I can during forbidden pattern always, but I treat it like any other disruption in the end. And what my philosophy with any disruption is to maintain the dignity of the students at all times. I use proximity as early as I possibly can. If I sense a child, because I've gotten good at sensing when they're going to do something like that, it's rare in my room, but I'll get a tester still. Situation with the kids. In your class, because you didn't deliver the directions clearly, because we have a hard time understanding how they think and how they, what they need, what information they need to be successful to deliver what you're asking them to do. And that takes time and experience. And, but you always need to be in that space where if you say something to the kids, you give some instructions and they're not following the instructions, ask yourself, was I clear? Was I able to, did I give them the step-by-step that they need? It took me a long time to realize what they needed to hear from me to succeed in various instructions. And when now I still fail occasionally at that, I will recognize that and then apologize and say, I'm sorry, I wasn't clear. Let's start here, And these are the things that set up that loyalty piece that middle school children have. That we need them to have, because as I started this Facebook Live, does that mean that you're not strict with them? No. Does that mean that you're not strict with the parents? No. Does that mean you give them 18 chances? I want to say a bad word? No. So I just need you to understand that, and I'll get to some of that here, and I've written, as I said, a lot about it already. Hi from Iowa. What rewards do you give out to motivate? Oh, people who know me know that I throw starbursts all the time. And I hear from a lot of teachers that can't do candy, and they find other ways to do it. Please list them here on YouTube Live or Facebook Live. Again, I can't see the Facebook Live comments, so not sure why, so apologies. Do you give the same rewards for 6th as 8th? I do. I remember I have a point system for Forbidden Pattern, which is the game for S cubed, and I just publicly post the points, and they keep such a close eye on it, and I stoke the competition. Anything you can do to motivate them and get them excited about doing the best that they can do in the most positive way that you can is going to be important for you to do. So the next thing I'm going to just touch on here and remind everybody is that you have to talk to the kids and explain things in the simplest, clearest way possible. Think like a sixth grader. Learn to think like a sixth grader, and you'll always be okay. Especially if you're in your first year of place when you've not taught any of those children. So you're having to be so on it every period because you've got all these kids who don't know your way. They don't know how you do things. But by the time you're in the second year, you've got 2 grades that know. And by the time you're in the third year, that's when it always turns because you've got only 1 grade to really have to be on your game as hard with the directions and things that often cause difficulties in your classroom with middle school kids. I want to talk about the importance of the first day of school. Okay, so I have the winning class per quarter, a free seating chart day. That sounds great. No food involved, right? And if you can't do food, that is good. If you can't do candy works like a charm though for me, and I'm so glad my school lets us do it. The first day of school is probably the single most important day of your time with your students. You've got to have that worked out, like from start to finish, and you've got to be flexible. I have written about the first day of school on my blog. If you type in, you'll find that stuff on the search on YouTube as well. Just use Google, first day of school, Mr. D SQ. You'll probably get some of the things I've written. Mine is super, super tight. I want it to be as little talking as possible, as much fun as possible, as much singing as possible. Of course, I use Forbidden Pattern on that first day. I have everything set up. So when they walk in the room, I've analyzed my room very clearly. I wrote a blog post about this last week, actually, I believe. And I've got it set up so that everything flows like a middle school child needs it to flow, so they can feel successful. And when they have an opportunity to demonstrate the rules, because it is appropriate that day, that is a soul-crushing experience for those children. So yeah, I think Starburst works wonders though. When they stop sitting up straight, you toss one to one child and as well. So you don't do it all at once. Like pick a section, go through it, and have a fun activity on the other side of that. Start class with something fun, then do the rules, and make it as entertaining as you possibly can. We're entertainers with middle school kids. And do at the end something fun again, something that is going to reinforce posture in your class. Or maybe it's a game where you're bonding together. I have a game that I use called the Cup Up game, and that game is really good kind of bonding game for everybody, and it's exciting, and we get to learn a lot of lessons from that. I think if you will YouTube that on my channel and press Cup Up, you'll find that. I've used it for years and I love it. Okay, so now we get to when the honeymoon is over, all right? Because the honeymoon always ends with middle school. All right, let's see, Mary, let's talk about the honeymoon in a minute. Thank you so much. Don't blame yourself. All right, just stop blaming yourself. You are good, Deanne. You are doing the best that you can do. I sat in my first year teaching every night with my new puppy, Katie, who I loved and who got me through my first year teaching. You question yourself about your techniques? Yes. Can you possibly expect to get everything in first year? No. Second year? No. Third year? No. Am I still learning? Yes, because things change. New things come into the classroom. Slime, phones, all the stuff, you have to keep learning. So I want you to not beat yourselves up. But I want you to have, when the honeymoon ends, it ends about the end of the second week and the beginning of the third week. That's when you finish all your rules, you're getting into your, regular routine is established, and you get into that, and then you you have those children who are going to test the boundaries for whatever reason. It's just, there's some children are going to do it. So when they do it, you've got to follow through with what you said and your consequences. And number one thing is when you move towards them, find a way to go proximity and then say their name in the quietest way possible to get them on track. When they still don't respond, and you're going to have it, it's going to happen. You're going to be, again, proximity with the child and say, stay after class. You're not going to say it in front of the class. Sean, you're staying after class, because Sean is going to immediately feel threatened. And then you're going to have a thing with Sean. So you're going to find a way to do it with dignity. And then he's going to stay after class. Everybody's left. And the question you need to ask yourself is, have I treated this child and every child that I teach with respect? And the answer you should always have is yes. No matter what. If you can't say that, then you're cutting off your legs, right? So that's why you do everything with proximity. You do everything quietly whenever you possibly can. And only in the worst possible situation will you have a lot to my teaching. And I worked really hard on my teaching. And I want all the kids to have a good experience. And so that to me was disrespectful. And then they usually, if you say it that way, you're not yelling, you're not every single time in 26 years of teaching, which is, I'm sorry, and if you don't get that, then you can go forward with, all right, so do you think I should move your seat? You always work with the child first. Do you think I should move your seat? Do you think I should do, you think of the things you could do. Could we do, like, in your agenda, if they have something that you want, and you can, say that you're going to contact the parent if you think it's appropriate, but I always try to let the child have a chance first. And then if they don't respond to that, then you go to the parent. And you need to have easy access to the parents. You need to have an email list or something set up, or Remind, or whatever it is that you use, so that you can immediately get in touch with those parents. Like, I have it set up. I have a parent group that helps me because I have so many kids. It says, the phone difficult parent, and you've got to help that parent along their way towards the truth about that child, which is better if you have it on email, I think, or some sort of written way. When you write the email, it needs to be in the most non-judgmental delivery possible. It needs to be behavior descriptions, like she arrived 2 minutes late to my class yesterday. She arrived 5 minutes late to class today. Just the facts. She slumps in her singing posture. She rolled her eyes when I called on her to answer the question. If you say things like, she shows me attitude, you're setting up a whole different situation. When you communicate to the to the parents, the child who is a difficult middle school child is going to latch on to that one inaccurate piece, and they're going to immediately brighten up, and they're like, I got the teacher. I'm going to say all this stuff to the parent, and the parent's going to forget everything else in the email except for that one thing you screwed up. And then they're going to go forward with the meaning of the things. So you've got to be careful and non-judgmental and accurate, so that child does not get to say that you're a liar, because they will. Some middle school children will do that. So be very careful. All right, so I rarely have to write a child up for administrative help. And of course, it happens on the occasion. I do everything I can not to get there. It's not that I give them multiple chances, but when I get to the parent, usually the parent says, you'll have no more problems. And the reason they say that is because of how I've described it, because I have been accurate, because I held them accountable with data. Like, if it's assignments they've missed, I just screenshot the stuff that says 000 if the parents aren't keeping up with that. These are the things that help you stop having to go above your head, because once you go to the administrators, it's, and sometimes you have to, so don't beat yourselves up, but it's out of your hands. And then if you do it a lot, you don't get their support. And you have varied administrators. They come and go. I've had so many come and go from my current school. Like, you don't ever know what their philosophy is going to be, but you know what your philosophy is going to be, and you can avoid having that at many times. Administration write-ups, though, are sometimes necessary, and you're going to need to make sure you have those emails documented. And you're going to need to get their support sometimes and not feel guilty about it. Seeing anything on Facebook Live, I apologize, but I'll go back later, probably tomorrow or over the weekend, and get some of that stuff down for you guys. All right, so there's a big difference in the genders in this age group, and if you have that experience, press like or whatever, because I've written a lot about it. I have talked a lot about it. Please search out that gender stuff. Boys are completely different when they're by themselves than when they're with girls. I'm going to talk about that more in future lives. The toxic child, the one who's not going to budge, the one who's not going to sing, the one who's, yeah, I see it. Hello, good morning. I know, boys. Wow. But they can be so awesome. They really can be. Okay, so the toxic child, the one, what do you do with that kid? Like, you've got to remove that poison. Sometimes you get there and you're not wanting to go to the administrators. You need to remember that there is always a solution. You have to do what's best for the child. Maybe that child is not ever going to sing, and you can tell they don't want to sing. They are miserable for whatever reason. Then you need to work with that parent, with the child. You need to, like, about 4 weeks before the end of the 9 weeks, have an honest discussion. These are the things that we've done. I don't sense that you're happy here. I don't sense that this is really working for you. And I want to give you the option of moving out of chorus and then trying something new next 9 weeks. And that is rare, but it's something that you need to work out. And that's how you need to present it. Not, I'm going to kick you out of chorus. That's not what it is. You really need to find what's best for the child. And know that they change and they may come back next year and want to be back in, So it's always what's best for the child. It's really about the approach. There's always a solution. And then you get that little schedule change form ready and you have it ready and you give yourself 2 weeks to turn that around. And they may think and they may be like, oh, I want to be here. This is what I want to do. And you let them, and you try it again and you say things to them. If you're going to try this again, you need to know I'm going to hold you way accountable. Those grades are going to be so low. These are the things that help wake them up. So those are some of my ideas. I hope they help you guys. And I'm sorry this is not interactive tonight. Next Thursday, I'm going to make sure that this Facebook Live thing is working. I want to remind everybody that Mega Bundle is $179 until 8 in the morning. It's normally $349, so 50%. I want to remind you that the classroom management for free. There's more information in there that will help you. From now until 8 Friday, the Mega Bundle $179. Okay? You guys will see you next week. Toxic child is so true, right? Deanne, sorry, I need my glasses on to see clearly. And we will see you next Thursday night. I have some big announcements. I have 2 big announcements, and I really need your help to get them out. So the final one of June, I hope to see some of you there. It's a Facebook Live. I'll try to YouTube Live it too. And we'll talk more, and I'll answer some of the questions I don't see now later. Here. It's crazy tonight.